So the other day, a lovely viewer saw my silly video poking fun at Epic Rollercoasters and Epic Fun and thought, but what if now he had to play the rest of both of those games? So they bought me all the DLC. That's right, someone wants you to sit through me talking about these goddamn games again. Well, it looks like this is officially a VR roller coaster simulator review channel now, so I hope you're all strapped in for the ride, because oh my fucking god, I have opinions. So many opinions. In order to really give you an accurate feel for the quality of these new experiences, though, I'm going to use this patent pending, coasterometer to determine the very scientifically accurate funness levels of each ride. I'll be using the same device to measure the quality of both games so that there is no bias going into this. This review is entirely at the will of the machine. Except for the fact that I won't be going into the race mode of Epic Rollercoasters or both games' shooting gallery modes. They're fine if you're into that sort of thing. Race mode's a fun idea, but it's too touchy to be exceedingly fun in most levels, and they remove all the thematic elements. And the shooting galleries, they're just janky, boring, busy work. No, we'll be sticking to the experiment at hand, the coasters themselves. Epic Rollercoasters will go first to set an accurate baseline for the device's readings. The first of our many trials will be Rock Falls, a not-so-abandoned mining expedition in the mountains. I say not so abandoned because this fucker right here is ready and more than willing to detonate this entire area if you so much as consider not giving the ride a 5-star rating. So, in the aim of being as unbiased as possible and following the heart of the machine, 5 stars, solid ride, cool theme, decent mix of pace and suspense. Dynamite is cool. Moving along quickly to our next attraction, we find ourselves in the Secret Cave, also known as where my weird stepdad and I tried to make amends, but it turns out he wasn't really listening to a damn thing I said. Sorry, the machine, right. It's fine. Not very long, going straight from the empty bowels of a cave to an underwater tube, giving a nice view of various deep ocean denizens. Lots of cute colors, fun little critters to look at, but it's kind of short and smashed together as opposed to being a fun ride with any particular depth. It looks like we've got a solid okay on the coasterometer. Tropical Island. It's a ride. There's just nothing epic about it. Lots of loops, it's relatively fast, but there's no unique thematic elements beyond a parrot that lands on the coaster for a little bit. The visuals are fine. Yes, on the coasterometer. Yes, as in, yes, this is a roller coaster. Moving on. Next is Armageddon. Whoa, hey, down boy, easy coasterometer, hey. Sorry about that. He gets really excited when a ride has both the thrill and the spectacle. This ride kicked ass. Zombies flying at you on the track, lots of fun speed and spins mixed with visually exciting events like a car with a fucking gun doing jumps at you as you ride the coaster? Yes! We're getting a solid epic on the coasterometer. It looks like this one's a clear contender for the top of the leaderboard, but who knows? Maybe the next ride will knock it out of the water. No, it won't. Dread Blood is objectively bad, to the point that I'm sad someone paid money for me to play it. It has a series of environments set up for horror experience that could have been better utilized by a random single dev making knockoff FNAF games on itch.io. It was just painfully slow and uninteresting. Almost makes me wish I was playing Epic Fun. Sorry. Don't interfere with the test results. Just unbiased results. Not epic. Following that obscene dip in quality, we have Great Canyon. Simple, if a bit uninteresting thematically for some of the ride. There are some cute moments, like a hang glider passing right overhead and a distant speedboat cruising down the river alongside you, but overall the short ride time and over-reliance on looping makes this ride a bit less than it could be. A solid on the coasterometer. Okay. Halloween, my favorite holiday. That has no effect on my rating, I swear. It's all in the machine's hands here. It's fun. It's so much fun. It's silly from start to end, with plenty of speed to keep your blood pumping, but it slows down just enough to watch all these monstrous partygoers having a blast, and it really makes you feel like part of the action. Also, one of the few of these rides with a genuinely awesome finale. Epic. Sorry, that was my reading here. Haunted Castle. It's okay. It certainly handles the horror themes better than Dread Blood, but it still has some issues with pacing, a couple of moments of intense speed and a couple that are painfully slow, but at least you get to see some interesting things. I do like the variety they pull off within a single house. Decent. Lost Forest is a wild ride. It's relatively fast for most of the runtime, but there's plenty of action to see throughout. Although some of it is a little janky in the animation, it makes up for it with just how much is going on at all times. Two armies of strange creatures pitted against one another, an extra-dimensional invasion of a strange, swampy land, getting to watch a giant monster stomp around in the distance, and then get fucking uppercut by an even bigger monster? Cool as hell. I agree, Coasterometer. It was cool as hell. Neon Rider. I think cyberpunk dystopias make for cool media. There's lots to look at high speeds. You're not limited to scale because the cars fly. It's dark and gritty. It's cool. This one was a little scaled back in some areas, like not letting me talk to the pretty girl that saved me from murder robots, but I'll forgive it for then taking me on a high-speed chase through a somewhat interesting nighttime cityscape. A perfectly decent on the Coasterometer here. North Pole. You know, this one was kind of what started this whole thing. It was the one I even wanted to buy for DLC to say, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, let me show people one more level since it's a new one. But guess what? It's just fine. It's alright. I was hoping for a big adventure through Santa's workshop, but instead you just fly around a giant triangle, get harassed by Santa's clones, and then sled through the elf village where they laugh and play and avoid the living snowmen. Oasis. A beautiful desert watering hole village with a cool view of the Great Pyramids. A little shorter than I'd hoped, but between the nice theme and the cool visual effect of a sandstorm that blows away to reveal the landscape, it's hard to complain about anything in this one beyond its short runtime. Also hippos. They have hippos. It's fun. Snowland. A really cool Arctic adventure through a snow-covered winter wonderland. This tundra thrill ride is a one-way ticket through a mixture of frosty forest, chilly caverns, and a lukewarm lake. Some animals bound through this breathtaking environ, giving this glacial grounds a feeling of life, and protecting this coaster from a sense of passionless permafrost. Pretty good. Space Station. I don't get motion sick, but after this one, I actually had to stop for the night. It's a lot of loops and wide curved track around a drifting satellite, and I think that feeling detached like that definitely added a sense of unease to my stomach. The visual of Earth in the distance paired with the muffle of space make for quite an enticing experience, but the overall ride is too short and uneventful beyond a singular astronaut lost to the void for our enjoyment. RIP, Spaceman number 2. You were a hero in my eyes. Pretty okay. T-Rex Kingdom. I was sure I'd be let down by this ride. I really was. But man, it was actually fun. It starts very slow and simple, a couple of herbivorous dinosaurs here and there, and a slow trek past them over some simple faux prehistoric valley. And then the stampede hits, and you're suddenly being chased by a T-Rex backwards up the track you came from, really adding a sense of action and creativity to what I thought would end up just a simple theme ride. Seeing the T-Rex smash the rails as well gives it a fun sense of breaking the fourth wall, making you feel like this wasn't supposed to happen, even though it's obviously part of the ride. It's a very good twist. This ride definitely earns the epic title. Tuena Volcano. A steamy trip beside a volcano seems like a fun time for anyone wealthy enough to own a helicopter, but what about a spat with a giant being of pure molten lava? It was very fun to see this creature bellow and toss rocks at us while we zip around our silly billionaire playground built on its home. Something interesting about some of the rides was the ability to seamlessly go back through without restarting. This was more common on some of the shorter rides, but this coaster took that simple idea and made it a necessity. A second trip around the track gives us even more action, with the lava being crashing the helicopter and getting absolutely blasted by jets. What an incredible use of space and theme. Great. Twilight. Twilight was a simple affair through what is truly beautiful set piece, but also a hilarious and unfortunate look at what a hyper-capitalist setting can bring about. A roller coaster. Over a cemetery. It's one thing for the Halloween coaster to do the same, but have the fun of skeletons and monsters dancing and partying all the while. This ride, however, plays it somewhat straight, with a beautiful twilight sunset, the distant call of wolves and deer, crickets setting a truly wondrous soundscape to this gorgeous locale. But the feeling of presence afforded by the lovely details is somewhat tarnished by the creeping thought of disrespect for the digital dead. Very nice coaster. I wish my grandpa could have been on it instead of under it. Wyvern Siege. The finale to our journey through epic roller coasters. And what a ride it is. A fantastic way to end my time with this game. From misty mountaintops where crossbowmen wait to give the signal of attack, to a scorched village suffering the wrath of the dragon, to the walls of a castle lined with ballistae, this coaster really gives its all to drop you into a setting of action and adventure. This ride also has a really fun ending where they load your entire cart onto a scorpion to shoot you directly at the dragon, before having you land and watch as it's taken down by your new compatriots in this war. Truly a unique use of the cart in space, and a fantastic encapsulation of what a thrill ride should be. Epic indeed. And there we are, the full list of coasters from our first game. Oh my god, I just realized while writing this that the DLC levels are organized alphabetically, not by release date. You could have seen how hard my palm hit my face. But this reveals a sad truth about the state of the expansions. The best levels were actually some of the first editions, and later even remastered, adding new events and much better visuals. But the last levels added were some of the few I didn't really care for, and whose remasters or lack thereof seemed to have left them still in a state of dissatisfaction, compared to those rides that truly embody the epic title this game aims for. All in all, Epic Rollercoasters is a fun experience. There's a wealth of content if you are willing to pay, but I do worry that $3 per ride is a bit wild given the variance in quality, length, and especially depth. To pay the same amount for a ride that is 6 minutes of genuinely fun and interestingly crafted thematic adventure, as one that is 2 minutes of practically nothing, is less than epic. However, I'd still say this game is a fun time for anyone looking for a silly coaster ride that you can share with friends, or to simply get a little thrill for themselves. I mean, that's what the machine says. Now that we have our establishing data for the device to run on, let's move on to our previous video's punching bag, Epic Fun. Now that we've played through its entirety, how far does this apple really fall from the tree? Was I wrong about this possible hidden gem? Can it redeem itself and get revenge against the father it never knew? Only time can tell. And me, cause I played the game. Wild West Coaster. You start this attraction being dynamite blasted from inside a bank vault out through a stereotypical Wild West town, complete with prostitutes. Then it's off for an exciting joyride through a mostly empty desert landscape, hoping the bags of money don't fall out of your cart due to a series of misplaced loops on your escape track. An escape track that leads you right back to jail. In terms of being set up, I'd say the sheriff was leagues ahead of me, practically framing me for a crime I didn't sign up to commit. This coaster was alright. It was a good introduction to the game, but there's such a distinct lack of thematic elements beyond the beginning and ending towns, and one interesting spot where you play chicken with a train for about 2 seconds. It's okay. Viking Coaster. Ooh, a brisk ride through a frigid mountain village, a short blast through a shield wall of warring Nords, an aurora over an archway of carved stone. It would be cool if there was anything in between these 5-second set pieces, but there's really not much to talk about. Coasterometer? Meh. Pirate Coaster. This was the only coaster available for the free version of Epic Fun. My first time around, I gave it a bad rap for being too fast to be a good theme ride, but honestly, I think it's just fine. There's a decent amount going on at all times if you really look out, and it's fun for the most part from beginning to end. Honestly, it's a solid ride. Solid. Explosive Coaster. My favorite by far of the coasters in Epic Fun. A World War II styled event with dogfights, bombing runs, a bombed out town with a machine gun nest holding a street. The list goes on. As with all the coasters, there's some empty space that should have thematic elements to keep your eyes busy, but the only real complaint I have is the ending. Why don't the battleship shots have any visual impact? They could have at least shot me for the comic effect. Cool. Neon Coaster. A dizzying affair with decent music. But in a cyberpunk world, who in their right mind wants to roleplay as the police? The ride also ends with a very awkward scene where the music dies and you're forced to watch them execute a robot. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and move on. Samurai Coaster. Very pretty. This coaster honestly could have been my favorite had the sporadic scenes of samurai and ninja violence been less sporadic. The beginning has such a well-placed and beautiful village on a hillside with peasants wandering about, a small band playing music, and when you return at the end, there's a beautiful garden pond where you can ponder everything you just saw. But once you leave the village, it's a barely cohesive splash through a thunderstorm and then an underground battleground. You race from the surface through a cave system where then most of the ride takes place. It kind of ruins the aesthetic, as then there's just a bland cave to look at with a few loops and curves, instead of the cool Japanese setting we signed up and paid for. Overall, it's a fine coaster, but it deftly avoids being cool enough to really wow me, just in case Epic Fun almost had a redemption arc. Okay. And those were all of our coasters for today, but we all know how this goes. 2 epic games enter, only 1 leaves. Who could possibly come out on top? It's Epic Rollercoasters, obviously. I really had hopes for Epic Fun, thinking about what they might be able to pull off with DLC, but it's just kind of awful from start to finish once you look under the hood. Let me start with the 5 attractions in Epic Fun. I said I was going to stick with coasters, but wow, they all kind of suck, each in more and more incredible ways. There's a Ferris wheel. In a game about roller coasters, speed, action, where you move at 1 mile per hour, while once a minute a small visual event happens as long as you're looking in the right direction. That costs the same $3 as the roller coasters. The roller coasters which come with shooting mode in Epic Fun, and with both a shooting mode and a race mode in Epic Roller Coasters. Oh, but wait, it gets worse. There's a shooting gallery in a bar where your guns don't aim properly, so you have to angle your hands weirdly to even shoot the targets, and it costs more than the roller coasters. The coasters that come with shooting mode in Epic Fun and with both shooting mode and race mode in Epic Roller Coasters. And then there's a throwing darts game. A throwing darts game that doesn't rely on your real accurate movement, but instead an arbitrary force and accuracy system, so you're only supposed to move your hands slightly instead of just letting us throw the dart naturally, which is kind of the point of VR, right? And it costs more than the roller coasters. The roller coasters that come with shooting mode in Epic Fun, and with both shooting mode and race mode in Epic Roller Coasters. At least the dumb whack-a-mole game where you can drop the hammer and the drop tower that only lasts 30 seconds were fucking free. This game is just... it's just sad. It's just sad. I am once again just some guy making fun of a couple of games I was gifted the expansions to by a kind viewer. My opinion only means as much as the time you give it. These are 2 games that some passionate people clearly spent time on to make and put out into the world. I once again believe that B4T Games should be proud of Epic Roller Coasters. It was a blast to play through, and I imagine when they put these rides in VR arcades, they get plenty of joy out of their players. I just wish Epic Fun could have carried the torch beyond. Or at least not felt like a shallow, empty husk of shovelware.
Stop dropping the hammer. Why is that an option? Why is that an option? Who decided that that should be an option to be able to drop the hammer? That's insanity.